Welcome to Presenters. We have Mary O'Sullivan with us tonight. Mary has taught languages in Ireland, Spain, Japan, began by teaching Irish in secondary schools in Ireland before moving to Spain, where she taught English, back to Ireland, taught Spanish and Irish, and then, of course, to Japan. And she spent 15 years teaching at university before joining Osaka Kitano High School, where she now teaches English. And she's developed her own teaching materials and is interested in practical ways of supporting student learning. And at Kitano, she's introduced Xreading to make extensive reading more accessible and support fluency in large mixed ability classes. She's been teaching for 43 years and will be retiring at the end of this year. So we're very pleased to have you with us today, Mary. And I hand the floor over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Sandra. And as you say, I will be retiring in April, well, at the end of March, and I'm looking forward to that and to a new life of some kind. So anyway, I'm very happy to make this presentation and to talk about Xreading. So the title of the presentation is Managing Xreading and Motivating Students to Read in Kitano High School. And okay, I got it. Okay, now so I just go through the presentation outline, and I'm going to talk about the school and the classes, the history of Xreading in Kitano, the advantages that I see of Xreading, and how we do Xreading in the class, the goals I set and the assignments, and finally the main topic today, which I'm going to focus on, is how I try to motivate the students to read. And I would share what I think has worked for me, and I hope it will be helpful to everyone who's listening. So first of all, what kind of school is Kitano High School? For those of you people who live in Osaka, it's considered the #1 public school. It's very, very competitive to get into, and there's a very strong focus on math and science. 90% of the students go on to international universities like Kyoto University and Osaka University. There's also a very strong emphasis on sports in the school. In regard to the English classes in Kitano, we have 65-minute classes, which are kind of long actually by usual school standards. And in first years, I teach all first-year students and I teach all third-year students, but I'm going to talk about the first-year students today. I teach 8 classes, and there are 320 students in first year, with 40 per class. We have a 2-weekly schedule, an A schedule and a B schedule, which are different. And I teach a subject called discussion and debate. Basically, I meet the students once in 2 weeks, but sometimes it can be longer than 2 weeks, even sometimes up to 4 weeks. And I teach reading and speaking and reading. So basically, it works out to 7 times a term, which is really not very much. And in the whole year, it's about 14 times a year. So in regard to Xreading, I started working in the school in 2015. From 2015 to 2018, we used paper books. And then in 2018, we started Xreading in the 2nd term from October. So basically, we've just finished 7 years of Xreading and going into the 8th year. We started Xreading with all first-year students. Smartphones are allowed in the school, so the students use their smartphones for Xreading. We did it in the class for about 10 or 15 minutes, and we have continued with Xreading every year since then. In 2019, all first-year students and all second-year students did Xreading. And we made it optional for third-year students because they're the exam year students, and some of them are very busy. Most of them, they're all very busy. And the fee per student is 2,200 yen per year, and that is included in the school fee, which they pay in March. So this is a quick look at the Xreading website. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Xreading, but there are about 2,000 books from the various companies like Cambridge and National Geographic. Now, I'll just quickly go through the advantages of Xreading after using it for all those years. It has unlimited access in Japanese Yomi Hodai. The main companies are like Cambridge are there. Students can read in their own time. Of course, we have reading in the class, but also students read at home or on the train or whatever. There's an audio facility. There are 5 different speeds. And like I pointed out, the price is very reasonable. Also, all students can read the same book, which would be very difficult in regard to paper books. And importantly for the teachers can monitor and evaluate students' reading. Okay, so in regard to monitoring progress, we can see the number, for each student, we can see the number of books read, the level of each book, the number of words the student has read, the reading speed, the time that the student has spent reading, the time spent listening, and listening is optional, every student does it. And there's also a quiz percentage score, which you can see. Now I briefly go look at the before and after results of Xreading. In 2017, before we started Xreading, we calculated by using paper books. Students basically read about 20,000 words in the year. That would be like from reading in the classroom, and also maybe they might have borrowed a book from the library now and again. In 2018, when we started Xreading, the average per student was 90,000 words. And then that was for half a term. And then in 2019, when the students read for 2 terms for the whole year, the average was 170,000 words. It was a huge jump in the amount of reading that the students could do. This is a picture of the students in the class when they were using their smartphones. There were a lot of difficulties with the smartphones because, you know, some students actually, a few in every class, didn't have smartphones. And other students said, oh, I don't have enough giga and that kind of thing. So we would sometimes, of course, we had paper books to supplement just in case. So the game changer actually happened in 2021 because at that time, the Board of Education in Osaka basically gave a Chromebook, which is like a mini computer, to all the students. And there was Wi-Fi in every classroom. So from then we have been, the students have been using their Chromebooks for reading. In regard to the activity, how do I do the Xreading? In every lesson, which is, remember, each class is about 65 minutes. So I give the students reading time of about 10 to 15 minutes. And after reading, there's a 1 minute a 1 minute period of time when they write down the keywords of the book that they have been reading. And then there's 1 minute each to talk about the book. I have my own textbook, which the students use for both in the class and also for homework. And in the textbook, there's a section where they write down the keywords. It's very convenient because, you know, they don't have to try to pull out paper to do that and waste time. I'm going to show you a short video of the students discussing the books. I get them to stand up and talk to each other for 1 minute each. This is just a short 20-second video. And you can't really hear what they're saying, but you can see how enthusiastically they are discussing the books. Oh, okay. In regard to setting assignments, we have 2 terms in Kitano. Term 1 is from April to September, and I set a goal of 100,000 words, and in term 2 is October to February, and I also set another 100,000 words. So the total is 200,000 words a year, which works out to about 5,000 words a week, and about 30 to 50 minutes a week of reading time. So why 200,000 words? I think that's, Professor Atsuko Takase, who's here today, in her manual on extensive reading manual, she recommends that high school students should read about 200,000 words a week, and I think it's very appropriate. In regard to the assignment settings and the reading period, for many years, actually, for about 5 years, every term I set the goal at 100,000 words. It was just one assignment, 100,000 words for 5 months. However, some students crammed during maybe in August, coming on to the end of term in September. They just crammed at the end, which is really not the idea when it comes to extensive reading. It should be done like consistently. So I changed the system 2 years ago. I changed the system to 5 monthly assignments. and there's 20,000 words in each assignment. And I give them a score, actually, not just for the number of words that they have read, but I also give a score for how many assignments they have completed. Not just the total words. And which is more effective, even from the students themselves. I give them a survey. Which do you prefer, the one assignment or multiple assignments? And 2/3 of the students thought that multiple assignments were better. And this was one of the comments, typical comment. If we have to finish 100,000 words in one assignment, many of us will think there is too long way to go and give up. On the other hand, if there are many small assignments, we can continue reading every month. So other assignment settings, I set the level of the books. There are about 15, I think, levels in Xreading, and the top one is 15. So I limit the students to level 1 to 4 in the first term, and I raise it up to 1 to 6 in the second term. And in the second year, when it comes to second years, they can read any level they like, but at that stage, they kind of understand the thing about reading is to read easy books. The word speed, I set the limit of 250 words per minute, and most students actually read at less than 150 words per minute, I think, but some are very fast. The quiz, actually, we don't have any quizzes anymore. We stopped using quizzes 1.5 years ago. 2 reasons, really. Number one, some students fail and they feel very disillusioned, students who have read honestly. And secondly, students were cheating. They share answers on the internet, so it's no problem for them to find out what the answers are to quizzes. But later on, I'll go into how I deal with making sure the students read honestly. Okay, now for high-level learners, I set up a separate class called Super Readers, and they can read any book because sometimes we have returnees, who are almost like native speakers, and they can read any book, and the reading speed is set at 350 words per minute. Now, I'm going to move on to the main focus today is how I try to motivate students to read the required amount of reading. I think, many of you may be familiar with Paul Nation's book, What Should Every EFL Teacher Know? Now, Paul Nation is a huge proponent of extensive reading. And in his chapter on extensive reading, he talks about how teachers should keep the learners highly motivated about their reading. And he points out some ways that this can be done. And I'll just go through here. This can be done by telling them about the values of extensive reading, by rewarding those who read a lot, by praising them for doing the extensive reading well, by displaying records of the amount that each learner has read, and by getting learners to talk to the others in the class about the interesting books that they have read. Displaying the books well can also make learners notice them. So I'm just going to go through each one again. Number 1, explain the value of extensive reading. Number 2, reward those who read a lot. Praise those who do it well. Display records of each reader. Get readers to talk about their books. And display the books. And I'm adding my own one, which is set manageable assignments, which I think is very important. So I'm going to look at the first 6 from now on. So first, the values of extensive reading. And actually, I have a video by Mr. Matsuyama, who was a teacher in Kitano High School. And he made a 2-minute video in Japanese about what is extensive reading and why it's important. And when I introduce Xreading to the students in April in the very first lesson, I play his video and they take a memo and then they talk to each other in Japanese about what they heard, what was the content. But unfortunately, you won't be able to hear what he's saying, but maybe. So but anyway, this is Mr. Matsuyama, and I'm just going to skip this part because you can't hear it. But I think it's available online anyway, and if you're interested in using it, you can use it. Actually, he said in the video that a student should know 70% of the words in the book, but he corrected that and said it should actually be 90%. So I explained that to the students, that basically the book should be very easy for them to read, a little bit more difficult, like 90%, 95% of the words they should know. However, just because I showed them the video, Mr. Matsuyama's video in April, maybe they're going to forget. So it's very important to keep reminding them basically about the value of extensive reading. So I remind them often about why it's important. And in the second term, coming up in October, I talk to them about the Kyoto test. The Kyoto test is the test that all high school students take in their 3rd year to get into university. And in the Kyoto test, there are 6,000 words in the English reading part, and they have 80 minutes to actually read everything and answer the questions. And seemingly, they need they need to be able to read at 100 to 120 words per minute to read and answer questions. Now, a lot of the students, when they start reading, their reading speed is quite low, maybe 70 or 80 words per minute. So they have to really get the speed up and be able to read faster. One more way I have of getting the students to read is I have my own textbook. And let me see. In the textbook, I have 2 pages of students' comments about extensive reading. And it's part of their homework to read those 2 pages and pick out some expressions that, you know, kind of appeal to them or impress them and write it in their homework. So, for example, here we have, at first I didn't believe the effect of reading a lot, but I came to be able to read all sentences in the exam. And there's shosetsu o yonda ga nihongo ban yori omoshiro katta. So, you know, I have a few things in the textbook that for homework at different stages during the year. Now, moving on to reward systems, I have various reward systems, and I'm going to talk about those now. The first one I have is stickers. Secondly, name and praise the top readers in the grade and in each class. Thirdly, certificates. And finally, make word count part of the score. So in regard to sticker system, when there are 5 assignments in each term. So if they finish each assignment, which is 20,000 words, they get a sticker. And in a class of 40, for every lesson that I teach, I praise and I name the 5 top readers. And I give a second sticker to those. And then there's a champion reader receives a 3rd sticker. And actually, in some classes, there's a big rivalry between certain students to be the champion reader. They want to read more. And they don't know how much the other students are reading until I make this big announcement of who is the champion reader. So there's a lot of interest in that. The thing about stickers, I didn't think that high school students would be interested in stickers, but actually they are, and it really works. Now here, how I work the stickers is every student has a name card with their name, and they put it on the desk so I can know who they are. And then there's a section just for stickers. And here's what the stickers look like up close. For example, write the date, and then the reason is Xreading homework, and there's another date they got to be a great reader. Just in case you think all students succumb to the joys of learning English, that I still have 1 or 2 students in every class who end up with this many stickers. Now, in regard to the stickers I use are, these are the ones I buy on Amazon. It's a 5,100 stickers in a pack, and it's a variety pack, and the cost is 3,000 yen. It used to be 2,500 yen until last year, but it's gone up in price. And I pay for that by myself, but I think it's well worth it. Basically, I need maybe about 1.5 packs during the year for handing out to the students. I also use I go to the 100 yen shop and I pick up some other stickers. Like here is some Halloween stickers that I know the students will like. And I also pick up some Christmas stickers. I also make stickers part of the grade assessment. So it's not just the fun of getting the stickers. We have to assess students for their attitude. And the number of stickers shows their attitude very clearly. So I count how many stickers they have on the name card, and then I give them a score based on the number of stickers for attitude. So it's not just fun. Now, I'd like to show you some of what the students say about being a great reader, etc. I'm very happy to be a great reader, and I want to continue reading an English book every day. Here's a reading champion comment. In the winter vacation, I try to read as many books as I can. I enjoyed reading many books, and I was happy to be a reading champion. Comment about the word count. Counting how many words I read and becoming a great reader were my motivation to continue reading through in first year. I think this one shows how praise works. They have to, at the end of the term, they write down in some comments about the homework. And I said, what would you like to do in the second term to improve your English skills? I'd like to read more English books than the first term and get a praise. So I really think like praise works. Here's another comment. I thought homework is good volume. I'll go for it. I want to get sticker, which Xreading champion gets. I'm going to read and read the next 2 weeks. Now, this is what I showed you, the outside part of the name card. On the inside part, I have, like students write there some information about themselves and have a photo. And in the center, they write a reflection comment at the end of the lesson. And then before I go to the next lesson, I write in it on the right. On the left-hand side, students keep a record of their homework. And actually, students have two kinds of homework. They have a speaking homework where they speak to a partner outside of class for a minimum of 10 minutes and about a particular topics. And they also have the Xreading homework. So here we can see this student spent 30 minutes talking to their partner and the partner's name, and then the Xreading, this is in the third lesson, the amount of their Xreading total score. And I write a quick comment like this: great, 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 wow. You know, they got from up to July, they got up to 68,000 words. You know, so it's very easy, good for me, because I can see how much they're reading. And if a student's not reading, it's there, it's obvious. Now displaying reading data. I don't think it's good to embarrass students, so I never put up, like, if a student is not reading very well, I don't put up how many words that they have read. On the name card, however, as I showed you, they have an Xreading total count, and I use that count for them to practice numbers. You know, Japanese students find practicing numbers in English quite difficult, so it's kind of one of my techniques for getting them to practice numbers. And it's kind of like a fun exchange with their partner. They say to their partner, how many words have you read? And I say, don't show your word count to your partner, just listen. And then they have to listen, you know, and take turns, and then decide who's the winner. But also this activity shows them, they see how other classmates are doing, you know, whether they're reading more or less than themselves. Now, my colleague Andrew Ahern has suggested a new system, which he calls the traffic light system. And I think I'm going to use this system in the second term. I think it sounds great. So Andrew is here and he's going to talk about this system. So over to you, Andrew.
Hi, everyone. As Mary said, I joined Kitano back in April, so I've been colleagues with her since then. I was curious about Xreading beforehand, so really I get to learn from the best with Mary. But it does mean I'll probably have to take over the program after her, which I'm quite excited about. And like she said, one of the suggestions I've made is using this traffic light system, where if the students are meeting the assignment goals, we color their box in green. If they're reading at least 50%, but not quite 100%, we do yellow. And then if they're reading less than 50% of the words they should be reading, we can color their box in red. And the reason we think this system could work is because it shows students a quick way to kind of compare themselves with their peers without calling them out if they've read, for example, 0 words or a very, very low amount. And from the teacher perspective, we can easily kind of just take a look and track their progress throughout their semester, see if they're on green lights, see if they're started off red but then got back to green, if they started off green but then hit red. So it's a really easy way to track their progress through time, as well as show them how they can kind of compare against their peers.
Andrew, thank you very much. And actually, I'm going to start using this from October. I'm very excited to use this new system. Thank you very much. Okay, so moving on. I'm going to talk, Paul Nation also recommends talking about the books they like. So before they read in class, you know, they have an Xreading time of 10 to 15 minutes. Before they read, I have them talk to their partner for a very short time. Basically, they say to their partner, what book do you recommend? And they say, I recommend because. And actually, often students read the book that their partner has recommended. For example, here's a comment. I enjoyed Xreading, and talking with my partner about the book which he recommended in Xreading, I want to read it. Also, you know, my students have both reading homework and speaking homework. And I try to integrate the reading into the speaking homework. Now, my textbook has the speaking homework, so they write a book about a book that they enjoyed reading very briefly, and they talk about it with their partner among the other topics in the homework. So so this is what the homework page looks like. There's a memo page where they write down, they take just the keywords. When they're talking to their partner, they write down the keywords of the conversation. And this is like, for example, about their favorite singer, their favorite song, and various questions. And when they finish the memo, they have to actually do a writing part. They write about their conversation, what their partner said here. And here they kind of write down who their partner was, when they did the homework and where. And they take, write down how many minutes they spent, like they might have done several times or just one time. And the total minutes is here. So, for example, this is one student who did a really good job, took a huge memo, and and included in the I kind of sneak in a little question about Xreading in every topic. This topic is about what they do in their free time and about club activity, and then there's a question here: what book did you enjoy in Xreading, and what's it about? So they get to exchange information about the book. Now, in regard to displaying the books, while the students are doing Xreading in the class, I go around and I ask a few students about their favorite books. And then I just go up and write them on the board. And sometimes students actually look at it maybe and read them during the class. And after the lesson, I upload it to Google Classroom, because all students belong to Google Classroom. And then they have a chance, actually, when they're home at night and they're wondering what book should I read next, they can actually go and check what their classmates have read. I think this is very effective. In regard to certificates, if they get all the stickers on the name card, and this also includes other homework like the speaking homework, they get a certificate. I give a certificate for the top 3 readers in every class, and the top 5 readers also in the grade get a sticker. And this is like given out by the principal in the principal's office. So, because I've read a lot, it's a kind of means that they've really done something fantastic. It's a big honor for them. Here's what the certificate looks like. If they get all the stickers, I just downloaded the template from the internet and I fill it in. The first year, class 1, debate and discussion, Osaka Prefectural, Kitano High School, my name, and another teacher's name. Now, rewarding with a grade score. Actually, we make Xreading part of the score. I think that's very fair, because I spend a lot of time doing the reading, and they're very busy with so many things like club activity, going to cram school, etc., working on other subjects. So I think it's very fair to reward with a score. Basically, it works out to about 30% of the subject score. And however, despite everything and my best intentions, sometimes nothing works. And in that case, I tried different strategies. I chat to the students in the class, maybe before the lesson, maybe during the lesson. And sometimes I ask the students to come to my desk and we look at Xreading on my computer, maybe try and find a book they might be interested in. However, sometimes it just doesn't work, maybe because there are different reasons. I mean, basically, students are extremely, extremely busy. And some students just don't like English. And some students don't like reading even in Japanese language. But I think for myself, as long as the vast majority are reading, I'm happy. Now, in term 1, looking at the results from term 1 this year, I checked, and the average reading was 95,000 words, and 82,000 actually finished 100,000 words. And less than 20,000 words, there were just 4 students who read less than 20,000 words. And the lowest was 16,000 words. And considering that when we were reading paper books, the average was about 20,000 per year, I still think this student will probably manage to finish about 30,000. So it's still going to be better than if we were just using paper books. In regard to a high level reading, 8 students read about 500,000 words. Now, I also carried out a survey of attitudes to Xreading, and in February 2023, at the end of the term, I used Google Form, and I got 179 students responded, And they had to respond to the following comments. I enjoy doing Xreading. 86% of them said they did. And my reading ability improved because of Xreading. 87% said so. And then I want to do Xreading in second year. And I was quite surprised that 80% of them wanted to continue to do extensive reading in second year. I think it's because they really realize the value of doing extensive reading, even though they're very busy. And finally, I'd like to go to how to reduce cheating, because we don't use quizzes anymore. So first is I check all students at intervals. Basically, I check the word per minute and the inactivity timer. And I go through each student. Actually, I found out that cheaters tend to read longer books. That's one thing I realized. Basically, the shorter books, they don't really try to cheat. And here is like what a typical cheater might try. But I actually show this to the students. So I say, if you do this, I'm going to know you're cheating. For example, this student read very, very slowly the first chapter. I mean, basically spent 17 minutes reading chapter 1, 37 words per minute, and suddenly like zoomed up, basically didn't read anything after that, didn't read even the first chapter. And there was 8 inactivity timers in that chapter. So I know that student's not reading. He's just, waiting and turning a page. And in the end, like just basically zoomed through the last chapter in 4 seconds at 10,000 words per minute. But I actually put this up on the screen, for all students to see, look, I'm watching you. I know, what you're doing. So one more thing, as I keep stressing the importance of reading honestly, I tell them I'm going to notice, I'm going to know if you're reading dishonestly. And then I announce that I'll be checking, I'm going to be checking next week, and, just be careful about your reading. Don't read too fast. Also, I think it's very important to get colleagues on board with extensive reading. If everybody in the school, all the English teachers are, agree on the importance of extensive reading and talk to the students about how important it is to read and how to read honestly, I think that's really important. And I think we're very lucky in Kitano because all the teachers are on board with extensive reading. I think, however, as well as that, motivation works with most students, and they really do realize that it is important to read. Many students write down, my reading speed increased, I'm very happy, that kind of thing. Now, some final comments from students. Xreading gives me a present which is very important through my life. Also, as my English skill gets better, the joy is increasing. So I want to continue to reading in free time. And the final comment, because it heals me. Oh, sorry, this is, at the end of the term, I have them answer a questionnaire in my book. I enjoyed Xreading. Why or why not? Because, and she said yes, because it heals me. There are some funny stories on Xreading, so I could be hot heart. I really like that comment. So here's my email at the end of, you can see on the slide, and there's Andrew's email. And if any teachers want to come and observe the lesson, you're more than welcome. You can also contact Kitano High School. So that's the end of my presentation, and Andrew and I will answer questions, and Paul Goldberg from Xreading is also here. So thank you. Thank you for listening.
All right, if everyone would like to unmute and give a bit of a round of applause. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, now let's see. We have a few comments in the chat, so we're probably best to start. So trying to take it back to the very beginning. Okay, Patrick, I think you're the first one in. Would you like to, are you able to unmute, or is it safe, or?
Yeah, my son went shopping, so he's not playing the guitar now.
Okay.
So you had mentioned the audio on Xreading, and I was just curious about how many of your students use the audio regularly, and if there's some that do and some that don't, if you see any differences between those who use the audio and those who don't use it.
That's a good question. Actually, I haven't actually told my students to. That's one of the things I'm going to be doing in the second term, is I'm going to encourage them to bring their to bring their earphones to class to actually do that. I haven't actually, because I only had them introduce the Xreading in the first term. So that's something I'm going to be looking at in the second term. So I haven't actually kind of like gone ahead and told them to do it in the first term, but in the second term I'm going to do that. And I can't really say like whether some students do and some students don't, but I think it's a good idea, and I will recommend them to do the listening, because it helps their listening skills as well. I basically, in the first term, I just let them focus on the reading, and in the second term we'll be looking at the listening.
All right, thanks. It just
Okay.
I remember that at one of my schools, I saw that some of the more prolific readers, I looked at them, and
Yes.
most of them had been also listening.
Very good. Well, thank you. That's
So
very good to know. So I'll be recommending my students, you know, to listen as well.
All right, thanks a lot.
Okay, now, Chris, I see you have a comment here about, did the students speak to the whole class? I'm not sure at which point of the presentation that was for. If you can remember, Chris, please feel free to jump in.
Yeah, it was at the end of the 10 minutes, 15 minutes reading. Students then talked about what they'd read for 1 minute.
Yes.
And I just wondered how many students there were in the class and how long did that part of the process take? Okay,
well, there are 40 students in every class, and
wow.
they have 1 minute each, and I use a timer, so I put on the timer, and now you have 1 minute to tell your partner, and they do John Ken, and they have 1 minute to tell their partner about the book, and then they change. I'd like to have more time, but there's lots of things I do in the lesson apart from reading, so that's the amount of time I can devote to the speaking. And like before, at one time I used to have a student come in front of the class and talk about a book that they have read, and I think that's also a very good idea, but because of just the time limitations, I'm not able to do that anymore, because I only have the students for 7 times in the term, and so there's a huge limit on what I can do.
Good, thanks.
Okay.
I was also wondering how many teachers are actually doing extensive reading at your school. So obviously,
well, I basically do Xreading with all my first year students, and Andrew is doing the Xreading with the second year students. Andrew, if you'd like to say something about the second year students.
Sorry. Yeah. So I do the Xreading with the second year students. One of the yeah, I don't know. There's much. I do it very similar to how Mary does it. I kind of just follow her style. But yes, in my classes, they get to start. They have set assignments, and then in class they have 10 minutes to read, and then hopefully by the end of the semester they've also met their goals. Because they're second year students, Mary has trained them well, so there really isn't much to do in terms of explaining to them, just kind of reminding them to read honestly and stay on top of things.
so do you have
I think actually it's sorry, I think it's kind of more difficult actually to motivate the second year students, because the first year students are new and they're very fresh and they're excited about everything, and by the time they get into second year, they're less excited. So I think Andrew actually has a more difficult job.
So just the two of you who are doing the extensive reading in the classes, like you don't have like a Japanese teacher who's teaching English who incorporates it into their curriculum. It's just you two representing.
That's a good question. In my case, I teach by myself. For a long time, I used to have a team teacher, but for the last 5 years, I've been doing just by myself. But Andrew actually is team teaching, and he works with a Japanese teacher. So if you'd like to talk about that, Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, so all our Japanese teachers, as Mary said earlier, are on board with Xreading, so that helps. They help kind of in class. check their so we have a combination of self-reporting words as well as double checking online. So the Japanese teachers will help me kind of check the self-reporting in their notebooks, because in their notebooks they have to kind of fill out some kind of questions about the books they've read.
So like feedback. So they're checking the feedback for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right, now Paul McAleese, would you like to ask your question?
Thanks, Sandra. Actually, Andrew just answered it for me. I was just wondering about how often Mary was checking the actual data for words read and how often it was just self-reported, but it seems you're doing it quite periodically. Is that like every month or so? Or
in my case, it does take time, because I have
it does take time, doesn't it?
It does take time. So, like in June, I just went through every single student and I made a check mark, if I thought there was a triangle, if I thought the student is a bit iffy, I mean, they're kind of reading a bit too fast, maybe in some books. And then there was there were some students, a few, not very many actually. I was pleasantly surprised. There were a few students who I put a big, like next to their name, I put a big for my own checking. I put a big triangle with a red mark inside. And I basically I sent an email to those students on Google Classroom, and I talked to them as well, you're reading too fast and just be careful, I kind of so they know I'm keeping an eye on them. And just recently, actually, I talked to one of the Japanese teachers because I noticed definitely, I mean, just like that they had it worked out. Like, I mean, it worked before, but I caught on to them where they were reading one chapter very, very slowly and then they were skipping through the rest. And I found, I mean, they're very silly. They think I won't notice that. And I found one student, I think he was probably recommended to do it by his senpai in his soccer club, and I showed it to the teacher, this guy's, he's cheating, she said, oh yes. And she's an English teacher as well. She said, I'm going to talk to him very seriously about this. And she did, so I mean, and then the word gets around, you're not going to get away with cheating. I think that's really, the most effective way of dealing with it. You just have to spend the time, at least once a term. And I think in April, like I say, they're all new and fresh. They probably won't try cheating. May, probably not. I would think this cheating usually will begin in June because they're a bit burdened. They're very busy and they try to, and then they're listening there as well. They're more friendly with their senpai and they, you can try this, So I think June is a good time to intervene.
It's great having other faculty on board as well, isn't it? Everyone's on the same page.
Yeah,
in a sort of a proactive way, at least.
It really is. It really is.
I really like how you're integrating the extensive reading into other aspects of your program as well. For example, recycling the reading through speaking and things like that. We found that really helped as well in our context.
So you do that as well?
Yes, we basically, we're having them for example, we'll be assigning books every week as well as their extensive reading and saying, okay, next week we're going to be discussing that book next week in class as a kind of a mingle activity. That's just an example, but actually I have one more question for you, Mary, if you don't mind. I noticed your learners are reading up to about Xreading level 4 or 5.
Yes.
And I'm in a university context at the moment. But to be honest, with some of my readers, they need about level 4 or 5. I was wondering if you could.
That's about it, I think. That's about it.
Do you have any recommendations?
You mean for levels?
No, popular books for level 4 or even lower. But then again, my learners are young adults, so.
I have a whole, I have 2 pages, like in my textbook, I just have I have a list of books. I can, put this on the slide as well. Sorry, it's not showing up now, but students can look at this. These are like most popular books. And they also look at these now and again. I see them opening their book and checking. Sorry, it's not coming up on.
Mary, do you find they are more likely to read books that are recommended by their peers or the teacher?
I think so. I think not by the teacher, really, to be honest. I mean, I have them read a book between classes, or one or two books. I think the books that their peers recommend is very important. So that's why I have them ask each other at the very beginning, before they even open Xreading. And, you know, what book do you recommend? Just a very quick, it only takes like less than a minute, 30 seconds. And they sometimes write down the name, you know, and I think that's more better. And then a list of books is in the textbook as well, in case they're stuck.
Oh, that's a good idea. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And we've got Ed has recommended Cengage Foundations Library, good for the students at that level. And of course, Paul Goldberg, your fan, has recommended Night Delivery. So, and it's which of course is a wonderful series of books.
Yeah, and some students, you know, they don't like fiction. You know, they just don't, even in Japanese. So those students, you know, in the second term, I'll be opening it up and they can read up to level 6. And I think it's level 6 that has newspaper, you know, about current affairs. So they can enjoy reading, you know, some of those, like those books. And also there's a series of books called 10 Ways to do certain things. And some students like those as well, you know, the students, you know, who are not that, you know, but then we have students who love fiction, but I think there's a whole variety of books in Xreading, so they can really find something that they like.
Yes, Patrick Scott, Garnet Level 1 has some good stories for readers who
like
slightly creepy stories. Yes, they do.
Okay.
Creepy stories.
It's coming up to Halloween, so I'll recommend that. Yes. Garnet, okay. Scary stories. Okay.
Mary?
Yeah.
I observed your class several times, right?
Yeah. Thank you for coming.
The greatest thing that I thought was, it's not only extensive reading, but extensive listening and also speaking and writing. So for skills, students are improving a lot. And when they were talking to each other, nobody was using Japanese. Everybody was using much better than my university students. Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
You're working really hard to motivate students. And
I do.
This and that. And they are lucky. Students are very lucky. So I'm talking to my junior high students to go to Kitano, and you can get really good extensive reading and listening, speaking, and writing.
Yeah, as you know, at school I'll be retiring, but Andrew will be taking over, and I think it's in very good hands because he's he's very enthusiastic about extensive reading, and you know, so yeah, that's you know, I'm very happy about that.
I think Paul has a question, if you'd like to.
Okay.
Just want to add on to what Atsuko said. Is Mary's high school, interestingly, is walking distance from my house. And having heard that Atsuko had been there several times, I decided to go just to see what this was all about. And, you know, besides the fact that students were reading a lot, I was blown away. Mary is like a maestro there's so many moving parts and so many things going on. I was exhausted just watching her class, watching her teach the class.
That's why I'm retired. That's why I'm retiring, Paul. It's worn me out.
Well, it wore you out. It took a long time to wear you out. But I don't know, Mary, if you're still inviting teachers, because many teachers have come and seen you, haven't they?
Yeah. You know, if any teacher wants to come and see, I don't have all the answers, but if anybody wants to see the lesson and how we do the Xreading, that's you're more than welcome. Yeah, and I'm sure Andrew from next year also will be happy to have teachers visit.
Yes, I'd like to meet Andrew in person as well sometime. But yeah, it's almost disappointing in that you realize it's actually Mary's teaching that is part of it, which not everybody. I don't think I would have that much energy, even being a little bit younger than Mary, to do
well, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of energy. We all know as teachers, you know. I mean, you know, to make a class work, you just have to put the energy into it.
Yeah, so that's one there. That's the one thing that doesn't come across in the presentation is just her actual the way she teaches the class is a I think I came to realize is a major factor in why it's so successful.
Yeah, it's like, you know, it's a performance, isn't it? Teaching is a performance. When you go in, you're on show, and you know, you just got to, you know, get them motivated and get them doing what you know, achieving the goals you have set for them.
Yeah, and you give several performances a day, don't you? Because I think I saw 2 or 3 classes in just one day. Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing. Anyway, sorry.
Thank you.
And one more question.
Yeah.
Okay. You told me, you told that high school students 200,000 words. I think that depends on students. What school?
Yeah.
Your students are the top class students in Osaka.
Right.
So they can read more, much more. I think that.
But you know,
Atsuko,
yeah, our students are really busy. I mean, I think they're busier than other high schools because most of them go to cram school, and so I think they have less free time actually than students at other high schools. But still, they try and achieve, try and complete the goal, complete the assignments.
I wish elementary school would start extensive reading from very easy books.
Yeah, I mean,
I teach
that would
from the fourth graders at the Juku.
Yeah.
And they start reading 100 or 200 books in the first year, very easy ones.
Right,
And
right.
by fifth and sixth graders, they read 300, 500, those books, very easy ones.
Oh, it's fantastic.
At the beginning, very easy ones, but they get step up very quickly after that. And then
I think,
yeah. So
I think we've
books,
had some of your students have actually been in Kitano at school. I've had some students say they studied, they were reading in your school.
Oh. Yeah. So, but yeah, as I said, I'm teaching fourth graders and fifth and sixth, and so after they read so many easy books, and then after that, if you start teaching grammar
Yeah.
is very easy.
Of course.
Yes, very easy.
Yeah, I mean, I still have students who are not convinced by extensive reading. I mean, I still have students say, "Oh, I'm going to focus on learning grammar," and I mean, most students realize, like, by reading, you're just learning the grammar naturally. You don't have to spend all your time studying these grammar books. But I think it's the old way of thinking. Like, you got to study the grammar. And I mean, I think they can do both. If they want to study grammar, that's fine. But I think it's really essential that they do the extensive reading. And I think the students that actually don't do extensive reading are the ones who have most trouble when it comes to third year, and they have really difficult grammar to absorb, and they really can't handle it.
Right. Now, has anyone else got any questions for Mary?
Hi, let me say one thing.
Hello.
Hello. Thanks to Sandra and Paul. I met them in Sapporo. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much. And I'm amazed at how fabulous, Mary, you have made an effort by yourself, more than students, I think, because I have my students read extensively, but I didn't use stickers. So therefore, I got a hint and a good tip from Mary. Thank you very much, Mary. Thank you very much.
Noriko, yeah, good luck, okay? And if you ever want to contact me about anything, just go ahead. Good luck, okay?
I hope. And I live in Tokyo, so therefore it's difficult to visit your school. But if you come to Tokyo, please visit my university.
Oh, what university are you in?
Until next March, I have a contract at the Felis University. Felis, this is all women's university in Yokohama, and also one day for Gakushuin University in front of Mejiro Station. It's very convenient place. And next month, I gonna be a presenter at the Japan Extensive Reading Association. And so therefore, if I can meet you, I'd like to very happy. I'm very happy. Thank you, Mary. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Noriko.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Very nice to see you. And
yes,
thank you. Thank you for joining. Has anyone else got any questions or comments for Mary?
just one final compliment for Mary is that her impact has obviously been on her students that have read so much because of her teaching and implementing extensive reading, but it goes beyond that, that there are several other high schools, public high schools in Osaka. Either they heard about it from Mary or there were her colleagues, kind of like Andrew is now, but her previous colleagues that have moved on to other schools. And I'm also monitoring, they're using Xreading and I've monitored them, and none are reading quite as much as the Kitano students, but they are reading a lot more than other high schools at the same level. So yeah, Mary, your impact has gone far beyond just your own one school. So it's really nice to say. I think there's probably 5 other schools just in Osaka who attributed directly to you. You know, like I said, people you introduced them to. So it's really nice that you've had such a big impact.
No, thank you. Okay, I'm really glad to hear that, Paul. You know.
Let me say one thing. Because the other day I taught some reading chapter at Gakushu University, and there's one remarks: a good teacher inspires students. So therefore, Mary is inspiring. So therefore, it's really you have shown evidence of inspiring teacher. So therefore, I agree with that program. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nariko. You're very kind. Thank you, Nariko.
Thank you. That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, I think Pat, you've got your hand up. I shall lower that and please unmute.
All right. I just want to say a thank you, kind of like Oshige Sensei. I've had students share their recommendations with each other in class, and sometimes it sticks. But your idea of having those recommendations go on the blackboard is something that I think I want to try in my classroom. Because a lot of the students, once they leave the classroom, they might say, "Oh, what was that book?"
Yeah.
So having kind of a visual anchor for them can maybe make it that much easier for them to choose their book going forward. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick. Yeah, it's just something like I thought it would work. I mean, and students do like to be asked. You know, they're happy to share, you know, if they've liked a book, they're happy to see their name up on the board and the book that they've recommended. And yeah, I just upload it to, sometimes if I have time during the lesson, I upload it, but sometimes just after the lesson, I upload it to Google Classroom.
Right. Any other comments or questions? Okay, I'll just thank you so much for everything. We're going to continue, but we will be turning off the recording at this stage. But before I turn off the recording, I'll just say that for next month and the following month, we've got a couple of interesting things lined up for us. So next month, we have Mami Yoshida and Tomoko Kasamaki from Kyoto University of Foreign Studies who are going to be talking have to read to want to read, and that's all about motivating students at the university level. And then in November, we are very, very grateful to have Kunihide Sakai sensei. He will be talking to us. I'm not sure exactly what about yet, but I'm sure it will be interesting no matter what he says. So sure that you mark the date, the last Sunday of the month for the next couple of months. And at this stage, I'll say thank you, and I'll end the recording here.
Yeah, thank you very much.